kids today.
But we can still do the children's sermon. So, how was your 4th of July? Did it go well? Anybody go to a picnic? Yeah? See fireworks? I didn't do either of those things. We did have a special dinner, though. My mom made pork ribs, which she usually only makes during the summer, because it takes a long time to make them. You put them in the oven, and they roast all day. And they were very good. But it made me think of how when I was younger, I really didn't like pork that very much. And especially not pork chops. Pork chops were just kind of chewy and tough and really didn't taste like much. I didn't see the point. But knowing that, at my house, my parents wouldn't serve it very often. But sometimes when I would go to visit family or friends, we would eat pork chops. And I knew that to be a good guest, you eat what is put before you, right? So I would eat as much as I could of the pork chops. So I was wondering, what are some of the foods that you don't like?
Liver.
Liver's delicious. Okra. I heard Brussels sprouts. Okra can't be slimy. What else? Tomatoes. Someone doesn't like tomatoes. That's not uncommon though. What's that? Raw onions. Very strong flavor. Yeah. Red beets. Anchovies. Ooh, I love anchovies. I eat actually pretty much anything other than pork chops, apparently. What's that? Any organ. So you couldn't go to Rome then, I guess. No. Spaghetti, there you go. Lots of vegetables. So there are things that we don't eat, but we know that when we go to visit somebody, the rules are a little different, right? Even if you don't like what's put before you, you try and eat as much as you can. Because the truth is that when we visit somebody as a guest, how we behave can show God's love to them. Because we're accepting the hospitality that they offer to us. When I was in seminary, I worked as a chaplain for an organization called Seamen's Church Institute. And what this institute did is they sent out chaplains and volunteers to visit ships that came in along the Delaware River in the Philadelphia and on the Camden side of the river. And basically we would visit the ships and we would spend some time with the seafarers and we would offer them some goods, things that they might not have on board the ship, or we might take them and transport them off the ship into town so they could do some errands, stuff like that, while they were on shore. And it was a fun job, but it involved accepting hospitality from people around the world on these ships. We would go on, and when we were on the ship, we were their guest. And sometimes that could be a little tricky. Jesus gives very specific instructions to his disciples today as he sends them out 2 by 2, right? And those specific instructions have to do with, essentially, accepting hospitality. One of the first things that he instructs them to do is to go out 2 by 2, right? It's kind of an interesting thing if you think about it. They could have covered twice as much ground, made 2 times as many visits, if they went out 1 by 1. Why do you think it is that he sent them out 2 by 2 instead? A little safer, yeah. You have somebody with you.
Somebody for moral support.
Moral support, yeah. Absolutely. Accountability, that could be too, right? That you will actually do what you said you would do, because somebody's there, making sure you did it. When we would visit the ships, we would also go 2 by 2. Not everybody did that. Some of the people who'd been there a while would go just by themselves onto the ships, but I insisted. A couple times they tried to make me go on by myself, and I said, no, somebody's gonna come with me. Firstly, because I was like 20-year-old, and no bigger than I am now, going on a ship full of men, usually. And also because I was new in this organization, and the ships that would come into the ports on the Delaware River, they would usually only come in maybe a couple times a year, sometimes once a year, sometimes even more infrequently. And so they would get to know the regular volunteers and chaplains from Siemens Church Institute, but they wouldn't know me because I was only working there a year. So going with somebody else kind of gave some credence to my presence there. They knew why I was there. And why I wasn't just this random sort of 20-year-old girl walking onto their ship. So in a way, as you talked about, it's safe, right? Safe to be with somebody else, but it also kind of it bolsters your mission. It's different if two people come to your door than if one person comes to your door. It says something about their commitment and the fact that they're representing something larger than just themselves. So Jesus' next instructions, that they go out 2 by 2, is that they would be vulnerable when they go out. He says that they're to go out like lambs into the midst of wolves, with no bag, no purse, no sandals. Why would Jesus put them out there like that? I mean, no handgun, no pepper spray, right? No two baggages and one carry-on. Nothing. Ooh, got it here.
I think it's to show maybe their humility and that, they're taking a soft approach. They're not taking a forceful approach. They're not trying to force themselves on the people that they're visiting or whatever.
Right, absolutely. So it shows quite physically that they come in peace, right? That they don't have any weapons on them. And it also shows that they're, the word that you used was humility, that they're coming sort of openly. And think about it this way too, they're not coming sort of displaying any kind of wealth or status, they're just coming with themselves. And so in that way, they're not necessarily intimidating their hosts either, right? If somebody comes on, so say if I came on board the ship with like flashing my diamond rings and got my mink coat, I think I'd be received a little differently than if I came on dressed like I am right now. So there's something to say about sort of just coming as yourself and not bringing with you kind of all the trappings of perhaps your status and who you are economically. And also the idea that you come in peace. Certainly when you're going on a ship, you're going into a secure zone, so you can't bring any of those kinds of things with you, weapons or pepper spray or anything like that. So the next thing, after they've gone out vulnerably, is that they are to pick a house, any house, when they get into town. Interesting that Jesus doesn't say, make sure that the household, the people who are in there, worship God. That he doesn't say, make sure that if they worship God, that they're faithful followers, they follow the law, they keep the covenant. He doesn't say either, make sure that you think that they'll actually accept your message. They seem favorable towards you. He doesn't say any of those things. Basically just pick a house, knock on the door, and see what happens. Exactly, Terry. Why? Why do you think? Why might it be that just any house?
Because God loves all.
God loves all. That is right, Rosie. Absolutely. So when we were Siemens Church Institute, when we would pick ships, we went on all the ships. We didn't just go on the ships that had American crewmates. We didn't just go on the ships where we thought they would speak good English. We didn't just go on the ships where they had asked for us. We went on all the ships, whether or not they had asked for us, whether or not we thought it would be worth our time. Because that was our mission, to visit all the ships. And we wanted to represent to everybody who came through our ports that we cared about them as American citizens and as people of God. Exactly. God cares for all people. So once you're in the house, what do you say? Peace to this house. Interesting. Peace to this house. What is the first thing that Jesus says after he's been raised and he appears to his disciples? Peace be with you. What's with the peace? Anything? Don't be afraid. That's a very interesting thing. So the angels, when they would come, what were angels actually technically? So they're called angels, but you know what angel means? Messenger. That's right. The first part of the message is peace. because you're coming in as a stranger, right? And in this particular environment, during Jesus' time, there was a lot of conflict going on. And a lot of different factions as well, people on different sides. And to come into the house and say peace is to say that you're not threatening, right? And that you come open to these people, not wanting to impose anything on them, right? So first, peace. And Jesus notes that if they don't accept your peace, they can't take it away from you. It just move on, right? So first, peace. And then Jesus, you're to offer a sign. No, wait. If they accept your peace, then you're to accept their hospitality. 2 times, Jesus says, eat whatever they put in front of you. 2 times. I don't think he repeats any of the other instructions. Yes. Now is not the time to be picky, in other words, right? When we would go on the ships, they would often offer us food. And it was usually pretty good food because they made everything on ship. So any kind of bread you would get would have been freshly made bread. But also often it was not American food. So it might look a little unfamiliar. Luckily for me at that point, I didn't have any dietary restrictions. And I'm, other than pork chops, not a picky eater. Pretty much eat anything. But I don't like soda. I just have an aversion to soda because my mom used to give it to me when I would get sick. And almost always they would offer soda. I think because we're American and they think Americans drink soda, and also because it was kind of like a special drink to them. So they were offering us something that they saw as, this is part of your culture and this is special to us. Here's a can of soda. And I would always take it, right? And do my best to drink it. Because I knew that it was important, right? When we accept something that looks unfamiliar or strange, it says that we respect these people, right? We don't expect for them to be like us, we respect them for who they are. And it also indicates that we're on equal footing, right? Not only are we giving something, but we're willing to receive something as well. We're not just imposing ourselves. So after you accept their hospitality and you eat whatever they put in front of you, then Jesus tells them to cure the sick. And this is supposed to be, I think, a sign of God's kingdom. You'll notice before they say anything, they do it first. So before they say, peace to this house, they don't bring any weapons with them, right? And before they say, the kingdom of God has come near, they heal those who are sick in the town. They show that the kingdom is near. So when we would go onto the ships, what we would do is usually we would have, like I said, things with us to offer, principally phone cards, so that people on the ship could call their families, because often they wouldn't have cell phone plans for the United States. And we would also kind of transport them into town if they had enough time so they could do errands or pick up things in the stores in town. Sometimes they were in town or on port for such a short period of time that they wouldn't have the time to get off the ship. And so sometimes, very rarely, we would do errands for them. On one particular occasion, it was a ship where almost all of the crew members were Filipino. And it's important to know that the people who were on these ships, the officers, so the higher part of the crew, they would be there maybe like 4 to 6 months out of the year before they would go back to their families. But the lower crew members would be there as much as 9 to 12 to even 14 months away from their families. So possibly over a year away from their families and their homes. And so to them it was really important to be able to send something back to their families whenever they would come to port. So this crew of almost entirely Filipino men, they asked us very kindly if we would go to Victoria's Secret and get some lotion and perfume. So I ended up being the representative in my collar who went into the Victoria's Secret downtown and got like over $100 worth of lotion and perfume for this crew. And that was a very special occasion. We didn't do that very often, but It was a little amusing to be in there in my collar, going up to the front desk and asking, can I have 20 bottles of perfume and 10 bottles of lotion?
We're a bunch of Filipino sailors.
For a bunch of Filipino sailors, yes. But they were very deeply appreciative, right? Because this was something that they could send to their families to show their love. And they couldn't do it themselves, and so we helped them, right? We were being God's love to them. By doing this what seems like kind of an absurd thing, was very meaningful. So sometimes we have to, again, go outside of our comfort zone to show God's love to somebody. And maybe do something that even is a little silly, right? But it has a big meaning for the people who receive it. And so first we show God's kingdom, and then the last thing that they do is they tell them, God's kingdom has come near to you. And notice, the disciples say this whether or not they're accepted. So Jesus gives them very specific instructions should they be rejected at the town that they go to visit, right? That they're to essentially brush it off. Brush it off. He says, brush off your feet, right? Even the dust we brush off. So in other words, don't obsess about what went wrong, how you could have done it differently, how it might have gone differently. Don't obsess. Also, don't get into an argument or exchange words with these people. Just dust it off, move on. And still tell them the kingdom of God has come near. So, I want us to think about how can we, this week, how might we adopt some of these practices? So the phrases that are used, peace to this house, the kingdom of God has come near to you, how might we say that in today's words to somebody that we would come across? I'll give you an example. This is a little bit of a silly example. So my grandmother, some of you know, her name is Annabelle, she has this practice. If she's driving and somebody gets angry at her, she gives them a kiss. It's very Annabelle, if you know her. But that is one way, a little silly, of offering peace to somebody who might not be offering peace to you. Brush it off, tell them the kingdom of God is near, right? How else? How else might you offer God's peace? Maybe not necessarily somebody who's even angry with you.
Just by smiling.
Absolutely, Sue. Yeah, just by smiling at them. I do that a lot when I'm walking down the street. Somebody makes eye contact, smile. You'll be surprised how often they smile back. And it transforms how they look. Yeah, absolutely. So smile. Don't underestimate that. What else?
I was walking yesterday and the mailman just pulled in and I said, hi, not exuberant, but I said, good morning, hi there. And he just like did a double take like, yeah, you're talking to me?
So people that we might not normally talk to just give them a greeting. Yeah. They might not normally be talked to by anybody. Might be hungry for some human interaction. And your example was the mailman. Who else? Steve.
Another car example, you could just let somebody in who's trying to squeeze in front of you, instead of trying to keep them from cutting you off. Just let them in.
So,
You gotta have it for good reason or whatever, so just love them, that's what I do.
assume the best, right, Terry? Assume the best. And let it go. Brush it off. Brush it off.
If they want to be convinced, let them.
Yeah, you might go through.
Safe for them.
That's what I think.
What else? How might we say, how might we point out to somebody that God is present in their lives? How might we do that? Sue, you are often doing this.
I do, because I usually always listen to the radio, Christian radio station. And the one time we were driving, it was icy and that, and I said, this is the time where I really need to have God sit beside me and take care of everything. God's sitting there?
So talking about how God is present in your own life might reveal how God is present generally to somebody else. Absolutely. How else might you point out God's presence?
Driving school bus, a lot of times when we're going on a trip and we know we're going to possibly run into traffic or whatever, everybody gets all doom and gloom. Oh my God, it's going to take so long to get there. It's going to take us over 2 hours and we're going to hit so much traffic. I'm like, no. Speak it into existence. Have faith. It's going to be clear sailing all the way down. It's going to be clear sailing all the way back. Everything's going to be great. It's going to be good. Don't talk like that and it won't happen. And we did. Several times I went on a trip with somebody and that happened. We went down and the traffic was in the other lane coming against us. And going home, the traffic was in the lane we were in against us again. And they were like, wow, that was so quick. I don't know what happened. I said, told you, baby, have faith.
Have faith, absolutely. I think that's a phrase that a lot of people can resonate with, is having faith, absolutely. What else?
Offering to pray for someone.
Absolutely, offering to pray for someone. Definitely a way to introduce God's presence into the conversation.
That happened to me, last week I was at the Jersey Shore with my family, and how many of you have ever been to Barnegat Light on Long Beach Island? Well, you can climb up to the top, and
So this is like a
lighthouse.
lighthouse.
Yeah, and my
Yeah.
3 nieces, when they were little, they used to just scurry right up, as fast as they could. Well, now they're older, and it turns out that the middle one is deathly afraid of heights now. And so we're all starting up, and I said, I wasn't going to climb, and I thought, oh, I'll climb, and my middle niece's name is Isla. She's going to be 16. And so she was very hesitant. I said, well, I probably won't go all the way up, so you just, stay with me. Okay, and I could tell she was like hyperventilating, but she wanted to just get to the top, get it over with. And then once she was up there, she was sobbing. She was hysterical. It was just really, I felt so badly for her. And then the rest of the family started down, and they said, are you going to stay with her? I said, yeah, I'll stay with her. And so at the top of the lighthouse, I just took her aside and said, just sit here and calm down a little bit, and we'll say a little prayer. And we did. I said a little prayer with her, and that just seemed to calm her. And then and then we started down, and I stayed with her step by step, and said, don't look down, face the wall the whole time. So we made it, and
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's a powerful story of being present with somebody when they're very afraid, and introducing God by saying a prayer for them, which really helped in this instance. Calm somebody down. Absolutely. So I want to challenge all of you this week, once a day, to do one or the other. Offer peace. Maybe it's a smile, maybe it's a greeting, maybe it's a kiss. Or point out God's presence. Maybe you say a prayer for somebody when they really need it. I forget what else everybody said. Maybe you say have faith when you're having a really difficult circumstance. Maybe you play a song that has God in it. That when you're with somebody in their car, whatever it is, to point out God's presence. Maybe you are listening to somebody's story and you try to point out to them where God might be present in that story. Whatever it is, one time a day, either offer peace or announce that the kingdom is near. And next week, we're going to report back. So let's say a prayer together. Gracious God, we give you thanks for your love. The love that you expressed to us at the meal, at the table here during worship. And the love that you call us then to share with others, wherever we might be, whether at visiting with somebody at a stranger's table, out on the street, driving our car in traffic, at a store, in our job, wherever we are in our life. Help us to remember that we are your messengers and that you call us to share your love by sharing your presence and by announcing that your kingdom is near and sharing your peace. We pray all of this in your most holy name. Amen.